Yeah.
It's very Mrs. Doubtfire.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. From Amor to amnesty. Well, immigrants can stay thanks to his power play. Yet President Obama has made a big move on immigration, as his administration will no longer deport younger illegals who came to America as kids, have no criminal history, graduated from a U.S. high school, served in the military, or give great massages. Ugh. The policy change bypasses Congress and partially achieves the goal of the DREAM Act, a thing. So I got to ask, is this amnesty? Is this immunity? Is this a path to citizenship? Is this a permanent fix? Or is this a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people?
This is not amnesty. This is not immunity. This is not a path to citizenship. It's not a permanent fix. This is a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people.
Well, it's a good thing I asked. Anyway, you know who can make sense of all this? R2-D2 parakeet. Apparently, it's supposed to sound just like one of the robots from Star Trek or something. I'm not really clear on that. Hey, Victor, I go to you first because you are here on a work visa. What do you make of this?
Well, you know, I was discussing this with Richard Chamberlain. We're doing an experimental version of I, Claudius in a broom closet. There's actually no audience whatsoever.
Excellent.
But I'm glad you asked because I actually brought a chart.
Oh, excellent.
Here it is. I don't know if you can see this, but it has nothing to do with this story.
Sure.
But it was Eric Bolling's, and it was behind the thing. And I thought maybe I could just show it.
Yeah, or it looks like there's a big discrepancy in the numbers.
Yeah, there is a big discrepancy in the numbers, and that's my point.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
Because in a way, it's not about the economy, it's about elections. The fact is we've got high unemployment here, and he's essentially giving 800,000 work permits, which cannot help our employment, but it can help his re-election. Because as you notice, this is only about Hispanics. It's not about Canadians or Belgians or anybody else. But I will say this. I am for amnesty in one sense, that I will take 6 Mexicans over 1 Paul Mercurio any day.
Absolutely.
I'm serious.
But
We'll send him.
Listen, you're not from this country, so you're wrong. First of all, Obama's up 2-1 against Romney with regard to Hispanics, so this doesn't help him. The only thing this helps is
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you
I didn't say that.
And look, I think it's a political move to help himself in an election year.
That's what I said.
Are
you listening to me?
Well, with this English accent, it's very difficult to follow you. But the reality is that I don't think it's helping him at all. The only person it's going to help is build Carlos Mencia's audience. That's it, to keep these illegals in this country.
Who?
Carlos Mencia.
Oh, it was a joke. You got to start telling us when you're making jokes, I think. We're going to have to do something about
both sides.
Hey, Diane.
From both sides of the pond.
Diane, there are a couple big questions here. First of all, is this the right thing to do? And second of all, is President Obama doing it by executive order the right way to do it? Pick one of those two questions and answer it.
I'll go with the first one, I guess. And we see this standoff all the time. Republicans always say, oh, but we need border security. And then if Republicans try to pass border security, the Democrats come in and say, but we need other, softer immigration policies. And so I just don't understand why they can't all get together and just pass them both at the same time. Toughen up the border, pass new immigration laws, because the problem is you see this all the time. I mean, I've done countless stories while reporting on illegal immigrants that come here, commit crimes. They've killed 3 people in drunk driving accidents, and yet they're still here. And then there's the hardworking person who comes here. They've always paid their taxes. They've always obeyed the law, and they're the ones who get deported. At some point, the priorities here got shifted.
Yeah.
They do need to get shifted back, but we also do need to tighten the border. Get it together, people. Do it all at the same time.
And in this case, the idea of the policy, which Republicans like Marco Rubio also seem to be in favor of, is you're talking about kids who were brought here by their parents, not like they chose to come here.
They didn't sneak over the border.
Yeah.
They didn't break the law to get here. They've been there their whole lives, and theoretically, they're law-abiding citizens who, again, are going to be hardworking, are going to pay taxes. And I mean, you can say that they're here illegally, but there's no other really logical argument to say that they shouldn't be able to stay in this country.
Well, there is one thing, and I think President Obama said they're here through no fault of their own. So whose fault?
Their parents.
Their parents' fault.
Right.
And so you get into the situation where you're accused of breaking up a family. But you're not breaking up a family. It's the family's choice to come here and have the kids, and then it's going to be their choice whether to keep the family together or not. That's not our choice. That's the parents' choice.
But that also leads to a question, though. if this executive order only protects the kids, what if so the parents can be deported still?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which then you have all.
That's a good thing.
Why
They're
does
the troublemakers.
Obama hate families?
I don't know.
That's my question.
That is so true.
But that happens now. When families come over here and they have a kid born in this country, the kid isn't a citizen, but the
right.
parents can still get deported. So
There's
this situation goes on
distinction, too,
here all the
between
time.
college students or students and people who served in the military. And I think anybody that served in the military, if you're willing to die for your country, you should be able to stay in this country and get screwed by its tax system. I agree. That was a joke, everybody. Laugh now.
That's a good point. And let me also ask you this, because under this executive order, one of the things is that they've graduated high school, and the DREAM Act, they wanted it to be, if you've been to college. Isn't that kind of snobby?
Exactly.
And seriously, are you a better person if you went to college? Like, what if you didn't go to college or you didn't finish high school because you're working your ass off?
Right.
True.
And then you define college. Is it a legitimate college, or is it a community college like that host Greg Gutfeld went to, who's not here tonight?
Well, I worked in many restaurants before I got to this job, and not to stereotype, but a lot of the guys in the kitchen are illegal immigrants, but they work their butts off. No, I'm just saying that was my experience.
If I said that, they'd be all over me.
That was my experience, but they work their butts off.
Yeah.
These guys work harder than anybody else I know, and then they go home to their families, and they try to pay their bills the best they can, and they show up to work again 5 hours later, sometimes at a second and third job. So
I think in the military,
I think to differentiate it by education doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
Can I just interrupt here and just point out a fallacy by Paul Mercurio? The host of the show, Greg Gutfeld, attended the University of California, Berkeley, one of the top schools, whereas Paul Mercurio went to the School of Hard Lips.
Hey, Bill, let me ask you this. Is this end run around Congress, is this just another example of what my good friend Arthur Schlesinger used to call the imperial presidency? And a follow-up question, should Obama be impeached?
First answer, don't name drop. Okay. Second answer, of course. Well, yeah, it was a political thing for Obama to do. It was a political thing for the Republicans to block it some months ago. So the question that we should only be asked is it the right thing to do? I believe that it is. Once again, these kids, not like the anchor babies you were talking about, and I'm against babies being used as anchors.
I am
for the
too.
record.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the card on the table.
We've invented anchors.
Yes.
We've invented anchors.
And by the way, babies float.
Yeah.
Last I checked. That boat's going to keep moving.
If it's a fat baby, it's okay.
Hey, Victor, I want to play a clip of something that happened at the president's press conference today. Can we roll that?
It is the right thing to do. Excuse me, sir. It's not time for questions, sir. Not while I'm speaking. And the answer to your question, sir, and the next time I'd prefer you let me finish my statements before you ask that question, is this is the right thing to do for the American people. Baby, I didn't ask for an argument. I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
Okay, so that apparently was Neil Monroe from the Daily Caller. Victor, my question, if someone had done that to the Queen, they would be shot, wouldn't they?
That's not the real question. He wasn't actually addressing the reporter. He was addressing a bird.
Is that right?
Yes, the bird that was tweeting, which means that perhaps President Obama is delusional.
Yeah.
And I think you don't address a tweeting bird, young man.
Well, they said that about Dr. Doolittle.
That's true, and look what happened to him.
Yeah, and
Strange
Dr.
weirdo.
Moreau.
No, but in a way, it is offensive. The Queen, as you know, is royalty, and in a sense, President Obama is your royalty.
Yes.
He's both your king and your queen.
Yes, and our prime minister and our president and our king, and our king.
Yes.
Yet again.
Yes.
Don't you think under this program, for every illegal that gets to stay, we kick out one American that shouldn't be here? Like a Peruvian college student gets to stay, but Chris Brown has to go.
That's actually not an awful idea.
Yeah, it was an idea that Greg Gutfeld, I think, pushed a few years ago.
Did he?
on
Yeah,
this
that
show.
sounds like something
I think
Greg would
when
have done.
Mercurio was on the table.
Probably.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that an administration official said that this policy change that was announced today is just another step in the administration's evolving approach to immigration. It's amazing. All this evolution in an election year, it's amazing how that happens.
These things always come out as the November approaches.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as evolution.
Coming up. Should all ugly people be shipped to Canada? Diane Macedo on her new book, How I'd Fix the Economy. But first, are naked vacations an idea whose time has come? I'm not going to lie to you people, even if it's not, I'm still going to be nude after the break. You're watching Red Eye on FNC, so stick around.